I don't think there's shenanigans. I don't even think I know everything gets black and white, hot and cold.
Oh, they had a tough training camp.
I don't think they're being cheap. I don't think they're being cheap necessarily. Right. I think they have a value that a level that they came to that they believe is fair. I think they would tell you they're going to cut above that level. Right. And it's still not enough for what Bosa wants. Now, in this, it's just like any negotiation. At some point, somebody has to give. And I think the Niners are probably thinking, well, why can't they give? And Bosa's probably thinking, I don't think there's shenanigans. I don't either. I don't think that anybody's being cheap. I don't think Bosa's being unfair. I've heard a lot of that. Well, Bosa wants 140. That's insane. I'm on the team side in that respect. Really? Who cares? It's not your money.
Right.
And but what about Debo? What about this? You're not keeping everybody anyway. That's the thing. You've said this about the Warriors, and I've always kind of pushed back on you and said, well, we'll see. When you've said, well, eventually somebody's going to be gone. And yes, eventually somebody's going to be gone among the core.
Right.
In the NFL, it's a guarantee.
No doubt.
It's a guarantee because of the way things are structured. Somebody is going to be gone. Somebody the 49ers really want to keep every couple of years is going to be gone, whether they choose to as a preemptive strike like they did with Buckner or whether they're forced to. And you could make the case because they don't have to pay Purdy at this point, they're actually able to keep more of what they have together for longer.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So maybe they would, and that's extending this window now, which when you focus out this championship window, if you will, this is basically the fourth year now. I guess it would be the fifth year, right? Because you had 19, 20, 21, 22, now 23. This is the fifth year throughout. And the only year it didn't feel that way was the COVID year. So I guess you can throw you can throw out the COVID year. 3 straight non-COVID years, the Niners have been knocking on the door.
Exactly.
So this is their fifth. Think of this is the fifth year of their championship window.
Yeah, it is.
It ain't getting too much bigger than that.
I wouldn't think so unless Brock Purdy is 10
game winner on his own.
Exactly.
You're going to win 10 every year because he's on your team.
Exactly. Let me ask you this, and I'll throw this out to the 49er fans too. At 888-957-9570. Let's take this to, logical conclusion. Friday rolls around, and he's still not signed. So now he's not playing against Pittsburgh. He's also fined that game check, which is, almost $1 million. Does it matter at that point? What happens when the 49ers, if and when the 49ers play the Steelers and Nick Bosa's not there because of a contract holdout? Now you go into Pittsburgh. Does it matter if you win or lose?
I don't think it does because I think they could lose that game with Nick Bosa. I actually don't think it matters just because this is where I think the fact that the Niners play a tough game
let's look at it two ways.
Is a good thing.
I see what you're saying.
If they were playing a team that you should beat on the road and didn't, then I think there'd be some trouble to it. Or you're playing a division game, let's say you're playing up in Seattle this week,
right? And
you don't have Bosa and you get beat. Well, you're immediately up against it in the division.
It's an AFC team.
You're 0-1. You're up against it's an AFC team on the road. And, those are probably the least important. AFC on the road is probably the least important games.
You're right.
On the whole schedule. Now, on the flip side, I think you could make a case this could be the toughest game on the schedule.
Right.
Between this one and probably Philly. So I think, in a way, the Niners are, yes, everybody will freak out if they look bad because it's week 1.
Right.
But losing to Pittsburgh on the road without Nick Bosa is nothing compared to losing at Chicago last year.
No, I haven't. What if anything would change as we move into the season? I guess with the with Bosa, is there a point where we're looking at the Niners and they're 0-2, and now Bosa has more leverage, or they're 4-0, and now Bosa's got less leverage?
I think that's all on the table.
Do you really?
I think that's all on the table. I think now, look, if they're 0-2, that means they lose to the Rams.
Right.
Which would be a major
Yes.
Like that would be a major. And then you got a short week with the Giants in your home opener on Thursday night, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So you at that point, it's a complete. See, the NFL, this thing about the NFL, you lose at Pittsburgh week 1, no big deal.
Right.
You lose at the Rams week 2, you're in massive trouble. It's that, there are certain markers every year. There are certain games that you don't have to beat Pittsburgh. You do have to beat the Rams. You don't have to necessarily beat even the Giants. You better beat Arizona at home week 4. And where teams get in trouble is when they slip up in one of those games and then they lose the other 2 that look like they're going to be tougher games, and then it starts to snowball on you. The Niners are fortunate, in my opinion, with the way that their schedule is at the beginning, to where they could withstand not having Bosa. They could even be 2-2 through 4 weeks. And if they wanted to go down that road, they could play a little bit of hardball. But again, if you choose to play hardball, you have to expect that Bosa's going to play hardball back. So if they say, "Hey, bud, we'll see you when you get here," we're kind of done talking, or this is our final number, we'll see you when you get here. That's where Bosa could say, "All right, well, I'd like a trade."
And it's also where the team could realize they ain't getting Bosa, and maybe the 49ers and Bosa have kind of compromised the season of the team. Terry's in Pleasanton. Hey, Terry, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Hey, you made a comment saying that it's not your money, and if Bosa signs.
Terry, you got to call back. Terry, I'm going to ask you to call back. Your connection's really bad, but I'll put you right through.
I think she was going to say, "Well, it is our money because we're the fans and we're going to the games." Fair.
Yeah, I guess so. What do you think? What do you think Brandon Ayuk's thinking right now? Watching Bose, he's not even
empowered for next July.
You think?
Maybe.
I mean, I'd be a little bit concerned if I were him. But
why him? You could trade Deebo Samuel and keep Brandon Ayuk.
I know that, but what I'm saying is, I do think the 49ers are unbelievably tough when it comes to negotiations, and I do think Bosa is different. I think it's going to get done with Bosa because they know he is the man. As good as Ayuk is, I don't think would break. They wouldn't go over budget for him. You know what I mean?
No, he would be in the other. Bosa's in his own category,
no doubt.
Deebo was in a different category. Kittle was in a different category. Ayuk's in a different category. They're not. To me, the Niners they'll stalemate Ayuk. They'll be like, "Okay, dude, miss games. We dare you."
Exactly.
But the numbers are also different. It's not going to be the reason the Niners have been able to win a lot of these deals is because of the scale in place for players at certain positions.
Right.
I mean, you look at Fred Warner's contract, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's best middle linebacker in the game. Okay, well, what's Fred Warner making? $14-15 million? It's by comparison, it's not a lot. Tight end.
Right.
Have a little stalemate on George Kittle. What'd they end up giving George Kittle in terms of guaranteed? I mean, nothing that compares to what this Bosa level is. They've never really had to do this with a quarterback either.
True.
To this point. So, wide receiver, they did it with Deebo. The only thing that made the Deebo thing weird was that Deebo he carried their team the year before to the finish line when there wasn't a lot of other action, and he wanted money closer to the other true receivers when he was more of a hybrid.
Right.
And they ended up winning that. They ended up, I think, outlasting him in that deal. He got a little more than I think they wanted, but
sure,
they still, I think, won the deal because he didn't get what those other dudes got.
Right.
So
I wonder how big a deal that is. Winning the deal. I mean, to me,
I think it's a big deal for the Niners.
I do too, but I don't. I mean, some games you have to take a tie.
Well, you got to take an L. No, I said it. This is the one where Parag. We get it, man. You're the best negotiator in the league, and you've won every one of these deals for the most part, and you got to take it out. Hey, Parag, guess what? You're gonna in all these big deals. You're 10-1.
Right.
Cool. And if that means you got to do something different later on, to make up for it, well, then you got to do something different later on to make up for it.
Yeah. Terry's back. Hey, Terry.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
All right.
Oh.
So here's whoa. Okay. So here's the deal. I don't think anybody is worth $140 million. First of all, I don't care what you do and what you play. And second is that these players don't realize us fans are the one that's paying for it. I mean, you already can't take your family to any games and hot dogs and beers and everything else. So, that's the bottom line too. Is these players hold out for all this money, but it's us fans that are paying for it. And their jerseys now, are going up. So I think that's something that they got to take a look at also. I mean, look what happened to the Pac-10, Pac-12. I mean, start getting greedy, and then you're going to start losing your fans.
Yeah, appreciate the call.
So.
Appreciate the call,
The
Tim.
NFL business is booming at a level that it's never been at before, and it ain't going down.
No, I agree.
It's not going down.
I mean,
and there are plenty of people that can afford it. I'm not saying everybody can, and especially at that level of jersey and food and taking your family and all that. No question.
Right.
But there are plenty of people that can fill 70,000 every Sunday.
Right. And the salary structure is the salary structure. If Nick Bosa is the best defensive player in football, he should get paid like the best defensive player in football.
And again,
he can make that claim now.
And it's all, a certain percentage of all of it goes to the players.
Right.
And that money's just there. It's not like it's, like that money. It's not like that's just Jed York's money. It's Jed York's money to pay the players.
Right.
It's not like sometimes I think people don't realize they're not taking it out of Jed York's account.
No, they're not. No, they're not. 888-957-9570 is the number. Season opener 5 days away. Nick Bosa nowhere to be found. Question is, what happens if he starts missing games? The first thing, and that's the other thing that we could just throw into the equation. He misses week 1. He's going to miss, or he's not going to get paid essentially $1 million.